Long ago, in the forgotten kingdom of Avelora, there lived a humble glassblower named Alien. He was known for creating the most delicate and luminous glass ornaments anyone had ever seen. Yet, behind his quiet life, Alien carried a secret. He was the last descendant of the Moonweavers, an ancient order of mages who once shaped light into power. Few remembered the Moonweavers, for their name had been erased from history by a king who feared their strength. Alien's mother, before passing away, had whispered to him, the crystal of Avelora must not fall into darkness. He had never understood what she meant, for no one spoke of such a crystal in his village. But her words lingered like a haunting echo every night he lit his furnace. One stormy evening, a cloaked traveler appeared at Alien's workshop. The stranger's eyes glowed faintly blue, as though lightning had taken permanent residence in them. "You are Alien, son of the last Moonweaver?" the traveler asked. Alien's hands trembled as he set down his tools. "Who asks?" he replied cautiously. The stranger lowered her hood, revealing silver hair that shimmered even in the dim light. "I am Seraphina, guardian of the crystal," she declared. Alien froze, the words stabbing into his memory. "So it is real," he whispered. Seraphina nodded, her voice urgent. "The Shadow King has awakened. He seeks the crystal of Avelora to consume the light of this world." Alien laughed nervously. "I'm just a glassblower. What could I possibly do against a king of shadows?" Seraphina's gaze pierced him like an arrow. "You are more than you believe. The Moonweaver's blood runs in you." Alien shook his head. "My magic is gone. If it ever existed, it died with my parents." But Seraphina reached into her satchel and pulled out a shard of glowing crystal. It pulsed like a heartbeat, filling the room with silver light. Alien felt the warmth on his skin, and something deep inside him stirred. His furnace roared to life without his touching it. "See," Seraphina said softly. "Your gift still breathes." That night, Alien's world changed forever. He agreed to leave his village with Seraphina at dawn. Together, they would search for the scattered fragments of the crystal of Avelora. If they failed, the world would fall into eternal night. Their journey began through the Mistwood forest. Legends claimed the forest was alive, whispering to those who dared enter. Alien heard faint voices in the rustling leaves, though he could not understand them. Seraphina walked confidently, as if the whispers were old friends. "The forest remembers," she explained. "It recognizes your bloodline." Suddenly, shadow wolves emerged from the mist, their eyes glowing red. Alien froze, panic rising in his chest. Seraphina drew her staff, its crystal tip blazing. "Stand behind me," she ordered. But as the wolves lunged, Alien instinctively raised his hands. Light burst from his palms, scattering the creatures like ashes in the wind. He stared at his hands in disbelief. I didn't know I could do that." Seraphina smiled faintly. "Your power is awakening faster than I thought." They pressed onward, deeper into the forest. Days blurred into nights as they traveled. Alien grew stronger with each passing day. He learned to weave light into shields, spears, and flames. Yet he also felt the weight of fear of failure, fear of being consumed by his own power. One evening, they camped near a lake that shimmered with unnatural light. "This is the Mirror Lake," Seraphina explained. "It reveals truth, whether you wish to see it or not. Alien leaned over the water and gasped. His reflection was not his own, it was a figure cloaked in shadow, with glowing red eyes. He stumbled back in horror. "What does it mean?" he asked. Serafina's expression was grave. "It means the Shadow King has marked you. He knows who you are." That night, Alien could not sleep. He dreamed of a throne of black stone, where a tall figure sat. The Shadow King's voice filled his mind like smoke. "You cannot run, child of light. You will join me, or you will perish." Alien awoke trembling, sweat soaking his shirt. Serafina placed a hand on his shoulder. "He will try to break you with fear. Do not let him." They continued their journey, crossing mountains where the wind howled like angry spirits. In the ruins of an old moonweaver temple, they found the first true fragment of the crystal. It glowed brighter than the shard Serafina had carried. But as Alien touched it, a violent tremor shook the ground. A shadow knight appeared, clad in obsidian armor. His blade dripped with black fire. "The king sends his regards," the knight hissed. Serafina fought fiercely, her staff striking with bursts of light. But the knight was strong, his blade cutting through her defenses. Alien felt something surge inside him. He raised the fragment high, and a blinding wave of energy erupted. The knight was thrown back, his armor shattering into shards of darkness. Alien collapsed to his knees, gasping. "You saved us," Serafina said breathlessly. "But each use of the crystal binds you closer to it." Alien didn't fully understand, but he nodded. They retrieved the fragment and pressed forward. In the city of Vera, they sought the wisdom of an old seer named Kele. Kele lived in a tower filled with books and glowing lanterns. "The crystal was once whole," Kele explained. "It was shattered when light and shadow first clashed. Only when the fragments are reunited can balance be restored." Alien asked, "What happens if the Shadow King gathers them first?" Kele's face darkened. "Then all light will be devoured, and this world will drown in endless night." Alien shivered, feeling the enormity of his quest. In Vera, they also gained an unlikely ally, a thief named Leora. She was quick with her blades and quicker with her tongue. At first, Alien distrusted her, but she saved his life when assassins ambushed them in the streets. "You're too valuable to die yet," she teased. Slowly, Alien grew to respect her. Their group traveled on, now 3 instead of 2. They ventured into the caves of echoes, where whispers drove men mad. Alien felt voices clawing at his mind. "You are weak," they hissed. "You will fail them all." Leora grabbed his hand and pulled him forward. "Ignore them," she said firmly. "They want you to doubt yourself." At the heart of the caves, they found another fragment of the crystal. This time, the shadows did not attack. Instead, a vision appeared, Alien's mother, smiling. "My son," she said softly, "do not fear the darkness. It is part of you, but it does not define you." Alien reached out, tears in his eyes. But the vision vanished, leaving only the glowing fragment. He clutched it to his chest, more determined than ever. Their journey grew harder with each step. The Shadow King's forces were relentless. Villages burned, fields withered. Darkness spread like a sickness across the land. Yet, wherever Alien went, hope followed. People whispered of the Moonweaver reborn. Songs began to spread of the light bearer. Alien felt the weight of their faith pressing upon him. He was no longer just a glassblower. He was becoming something greater. In the desert of Thuriel, they nearly perished from thirst. But there, buried beneath the sands, they uncovered another fragment. This one burned with golden light. When Alien touched it, visions of ancient battles filled his mind. He saw the Moonweavers standing against the Shadow King in ages past. He saw them fall, one by one. He felt their strength flowing into him. "I am not alone," he whispered. At last, they gathered the final fragment atop the cliffs of Elder. But before they could unite them, the Shadow King himself appeared. His form was cloaked in darkness, his eyes burning like crimson suns. "Give me the fragments," he commanded. His voice shook the earth. Seraphina raised her staff. Leora drew her blades. Alien stepped forward, the fragments glowing in his hands. "No," he said firmly. "I will never give them to you." The Shadow King laughed, a sound like breaking stone. "You are already mine, child of light. You saw it in the lake." Alien trembled. But then he remembered his mother's words. He remembered Seraphina's faith, Leora's courage, Kayle's wisdom. "You are wrong," he said, his voice steady. "The darkness is in me, yes. But it does not own me." He raised the fragments high. Light exploded, brighter than the sun. The fragments fused together, becoming the crystal of Avelora once more. Its brilliance consumed the shadows around them. The Shadow King screamed, his form unraveling. But even as he faded, his voice echoed. "This is not the end. Darkness always returns." Alien fell to his knees, exhausted. The crystal floated above him, radiating warmth. Seraphina touched his shoulder. "You did it." Leora grinned. "Not bad for a glassblower." Alien laughed weakly. "I suppose I'm something else now." But even in their victory, Alien knew the battle was not truly over. Darkness would return one day. Yet, as long as light lived in even one heart, it would never truly win. Alien chose not to keep the crystal for himself. He returned it to the heart of Avelora, where it could shine for all. Villages rebuilt. Fields grew green again. The people of Avelora hailed him as a hero. But Alien rejected the title of king or savior. He remained who he was, a maker of light, in glass and in spirit. Leora stayed by his side, ever the loyal friend. Seraphina vanished one night, her duty fulfilled. Some said she returned to the stars. Others believed she walked the lands unseen, watching. Kayle's prophecies spread across the world, reminding all of the balance between light and shadow. Alien grew older. But the crystal's glow never faded. He trained others to weave light, creating a new order of moonweavers. The world must never depend on one person alone, he taught. His students carried the light into distant lands. Songs of the light bearer became legends. Children grew up hearing of the boy who was once only a glassblower. But when Alien sat by his furnace at night, he thought not of glory. He thought of his mother's smile, of Seraphina's faith, of Leora's laughter, of the people who believed in him. And he whispered a promise into the fire, the light will never die. Generations passed. The kingdom of Avelora prospered. Yet shadows always lurked at the edges of the world. But wherever darkness stirred, there were those who remembered Alien. They remembered the crystal. They remembered that even the humblest soul could hold the greatest light. In secret, the Shadow King's name was still whispered. Some claimed to see his form in storms, in eclipses, in nightmares. But none dared speak it loudly. For the light of Avelora still burned strong. One cold winter night, an old alien stood by the crystal chamber. He gazed upon its brilliance, remembering his journey. He felt no fear, only peace. A voice whispered in the chamber, "Your time is ending, light bearer." Alien smiled softly. "So be it. Others will rise." The voice faded, defeated. And Alien closed his eyes for the last time. But his story did not end. For in the villages, a child was born with silver light in her eyes. She laughed. And shadows fled. The cycle had begun anew. The crystal pulsed gently, as though it, too, knew. The legend of Avelora lived on. And so, light and darkness continued their eternal dance. Yet hope endured, always. In every heart, in every spark, in every flame. The world would remember Alien. The world would remember the light bearer. And whenever shadows rose, stories of him would rise louder. For magic lives in tales. And tales live forever. And so, the magic tale of the crystal of Avelora would never die. It was told around firesides, whispered to children, sung by bards. Every telling carried new colors. But the heart remained the same. That even in the deepest dark, one spark is enough. That even the smallest soul can change the world. That glass, fragile as it seems, can hold the light of 1,000 stars. And that a glassblower, once ordinary, became extraordinary. The world turned, ages passed. But the story endured. A story of courage. A story of sacrifice. A story of hope. A story of magic. And so, dear listener, the tale finds its end. Not in despair, not in silence, but in the promise that light always returns. Remember the name Alien of Avelora. Remember his fire, his courage, his heart. For in remembering, you carry his magic. And in carrying it, you keep the tale alive. The shadows will come again one day. But so will the light. And that is the eternal truth of the magic tales. The story of Avelora, endless and everlasting.